RotoGrinders? A few minutes late. Apologies. Myself and Stevie were talking about the NBA Finals, and we forgot. Oh wait, maybe we should just fire this up. Start the show. 11:30 on the East Coast on a Wednesday. Of course, split day. We'll be on later on as well, doing the night slate, two slates, twice as many times to win money, sure, or lose money, depending on how you play. We're going to help you. We're going to steer you guys in the right direction. It's myself and Stevie. Steve, you've been on the road for a bit. Did you go on the road for a race? You were in Charlotte, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I was in Charlotte for the Rain Delay 500. It was so much fun. It was a long weekend, man. So Saturday morning, I woke up and I was like, oh man, it's going to rain all day. So I went and played disc golf. That was fun. I've never played like a mountain course before, and it's very different than playing Florida disc golf. I played a lot in like Georgia, South Carolina area, some courses in North Carolina, but it was like my first experience with like mountain disc golf. It's crazy. So calves still hurt from playing mountain disc golf. That's very different for me. But yeah, man, I mean, it was a long weekend. Sunday was just waiting around for rain to stop that never stopped, and Monday was hoping to get good weather, getting to the track early, it raining, and then being at the track really late, and then traveling back. And it was a long weekend. I'm excited to talk some baseball though. I was very like pumped to get back and do the morning grind last night because I mean, just like get back into your like daily routine is something that I'm always kind of pumped for.
So the race was supposed to be on Saturday, and just they delayed it all the way till Tuesday.
Xfinity was supposed to be Saturday. They delayed that race to Monday morning,
oh.
And then it rained, so it didn't run until Monday night. And then the Cup race was on Sunday, and it rained all day Sunday, and they moved that race to Monday afternoon. So they got that race in, and then they finished the Xfinity race. It was just a mess.
Is it
great
like
racing?
Full? Like
great
people
racing.
Have jobs to get back to and lives and all that, and a couple days later, it's hard to sort of figure out. Is it half full, or are people still stick around?
It's still very packed. I think they kind of benefited from it being Memorial Day and people being off work. Monday race is usually very limited crowds, maybe a fourth or fifth here. So, but I think they benefited from it being a Memorial Day weekend.
What would you guess is the biggest mountain in Florida? You talked about the both of us Florida boys. We know about how flat Florida can be. How many feet is the biggest mountain in Florida?
850.
Just Google. 345 feet. Britton Hill is the biggest mountain in Florida.
Oh, there you go. There's a disc golf course in Florida that has it's built on an old quarry where you play up and down hills and stuff, but wouldn't be considered a mountain. Like there was a shot that I played, Dean. It was it was 150 feet straight down to the basket, and people were putting from their tee shot. It was just wild. It was wild. It was just different.
They use the same terms in Frolf, huh? A putt is still a putt, I guess.
Well,
it's like a half a throw.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's just a different disc usually. Different way you hold the disc and stuff.
All right. We do have a 7-game baseball slate, early slate. We do. That is the purpose. We're not here to talk about Frolf, Frisbee golf, or NASCAR, or basketball, which you talked pre-show with the producer Steve. Baseball, 7-gamer going down, starting with Texas and Detroit at 1:10. Ending that's Joey Wentz versus Dane Dunning. By the way, Riley Green hit the IL for Detroit, so that Detroit lineup looks especially bad today because they're without one of their better hitters. Going all the way up to 4:10, the Washington Nationals versus the Dodgers. Dodgers, very, very clear chalk, almost a 6 total against Patrick Corbin. People love picking up Patrick Corbin. My guess is that's a day game after a night game and a lefty. We're going to see Will Smith back today, almost definitely. He didn't play last night. Chris Taylor probably plays today. I think we see Trace Thompson versus the lefty as well, and Vargas should be back in that lineup also, but we'll see. Maybe we'll get it at 1:10, maybe we won't. It'll be just 10 o'clock out there on the West Coast. As far as other chalk, it would be Atlanta. I think Atlanta and the Dodgers pretty clear. The two top offenses here. Atlanta, of course, also out west in Oakland, have a team total close to 6 against James Kaprielian. Kaprielian's been bad. That bullpen has been worse. You're locked in for 9 innings, yada, yada. I know the Braves have been disappointing so far this series against Oakland, but sure, any given game. No Christopher Morel, by the way, in that Cubs lineup. Cubs lineup just came out as well. Ward is not playing for the Angels. It's back to Moniak. No, Ward's batting fourth. What's different about that lineup for the Angels? They just kind of shuffled up. Who's missing for the Angels? Something looks a little strange to me. I can't quite picture it, but nonetheless, yeah, both Moniak and Ward are in there. Trout, Ohtani also in there for the day game. And pitching-wise, Stevie, it's Mitch Keller's world. He's clearly the best pitcher on the slate. A good ballpark. If you're looking at a K rate, best K rate in the slate by a good bit, 30.5% of the season. 25.7 is the next highest number, which is Lance Lynn. I believe he also has the lowest Sierra, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, a 3.13 Sierra is the lowest in the slate. Zach Eflin kind of on his tail at 3.37. So highest K rate, lowest Sierra. Very clear. Keller's the best pitcher. But I yield to you. What are your thoughts as far as the lay of the land, the 30,000-foot screenshot? Again, I think it's a pretty clear cut, like these are the best plays, but it's baseball, goofy stuff happens, yada, yada. But, yeah, what are you seeing as far as today's early 7-gamer?
I mean, I agree with you. Atlanta, fantastic spot for them. Love the Dodgers today. Both of those teams, I think they're the top 2 teams. And then pretty close third, I think it's Texas. I think this is a great spot for Texas today. I mean, just a great matchup overall. And I mean, at the end of the day, you love the spot for Texas. Washington, bad bullpen. You talked about the Dodgers. Oakland, the worst bullpen in baseball. So I mean, Atlanta clearly number 1 guy, or number 1 team for me as far as stacks. I mean, this is just, you get a bad pitcher, you get a bad bullpen, you get one of the best offenses in baseball. The only downside to Atlanta is they're in Oakland. I mean, but at the end of the day, this lineup has so much power and upside that you're not really too worried about the ballpark because it's a 7-game slate and they're just clearly in the best spot today. So love Atlanta, like the Dodgers, like Texas. I think Washington and Tampa are interesting if you're trying to get different in tournaments. And we'll kind of talk about that as we're breaking stuff down. But I mean, that's where I'm kind of at with my bats for this early slate.
Yeah, Kaprelian for Oakland on the season, 8.45 ERA. Obviously not really good. The Sierra's bad too at 5.28. 49% fly balls, walking the world, walking too many guys. Also 13% walks. Both pitchers in that game, by the way, are pretty heavy as far as walks. Schuster on the other side for Atlanta at 13.9%. A lot of fly balls as well, 51.4%. Been lucky as far as home run the fly ball. Schuster for what it's worth. All right, let's talk about our favorite pitchers. I kind of mentioned Mitch Keller. I think it's pretty clear that Keller's the best pitcher. Are you making sure you're just going to play him and that's that? Do you agree that Keller's the best pitcher in this slate, taking on the Giants? If not him, then who?
Talent-wise, he's the best pitcher on the slate. I mean, there's nothing really to argue. 3.3 xFIP, 30% Ks, low walk rate. This lineup, with injuries and people being out and just not being the same lineup as it was a month ago, a lot more strikeouts in this lineup than it was. So, yeah, I mean, Keller, I think he's clearly the top pitcher on the slate. You can make an argument for Eflin, I think. I think you can make an argument for playing both of these guys if you wanted to together on DraftKings because we do have some value. But Eflin's had a great year. He's not walking people. He's striking guys out. You mentioned some of the guys out for the Cubs lineup, and honestly, this is a great lineup for him. There's not a lot of power. There's not a lot of contact in this lineup. There's a lot of strikeouts. They do walk a lot, which kind of stinks, but Eflin's not a walk guy. So he's a guy that gets ahead. He throws, strikes a lot. So I think you can make an argument for Eflin seeing the Cubs lineup. I think you can make an argument for him being like 1B to Keller, but they're clearly the top 2 pitchers. After that, I mean, it kind of gets wonky on what you want to do. Do you go Wood? Do you go Dunning? I mean, there's some options. It's just not as good as like Keller and Eflin today.
You said the projected lineup for San Fran today. I'm just taking a peek of it right now. Outside of Wade, we're assuming is going to lead off at 17% as far as Ks this season. Everybody else, every other hitter is in the red as far as striking out versus righty. San Fran strikes at a ton. We're looking at collectively almost 27%, 26.9% as far as striking out versus righties. So, yeah, biggest K rate in the slate versus probably the best matchup for Ks as well, and basically the best ballpark to throw baseballs in as well. So, Keller looks fantastic. Let's look at the plate IQ as far as Eflin. You're talking about Eflin versus the Cubbies. Morel does offer some Ks for what it's worth of being out of the lineup there. Horner leading it off is a contact guy. They are really patient. You mentioned that. But Eflin is going to throw strikes. He's a strike thrower, 3.3%. Really patient lineup, bro. 12.8% collectively. But as far as those Ks, 24%. Yeah, man, I'm good with Eflin as well. Is that something you're considering as far as on DK? You want to run the double barrel? It's kind of a weak double barrel, right? As double barrels go, but you know what I mean. It's the best you can do on this slate. I think Eflin's better than Bieber. I think, which is weird to say, but Bieber, just the Ks have kind of disappeared. Ownership wise, Stevie, number one is Alex Wood, which is kind of, sort of, somewhat surprising. He finally got over his threshold of like 75 pitches last time. I just, you just don't really trust he's going to throw that many baseballs, but he is kind of cheap and he opens up the world for you. Do you agree with that assessment? Wood being 33%. We have Lynn at 32, Keller at 30. So basically all three of those guys, 1A, 1B, 1C. And then we'll talk about Dunning and Schuster and Eflin next. But how do you feel about Wood at 33% ownership? That seems, I know he's cheap, obviously, and he helps you get, Acuna or Betts, those kind of guys. I'm not thrilled at the prospect of him being the most popular pitcher. This might change. We'll see. Stay tuned. 84 pitches we're projecting for Wood. And I think he finally got over. Did he get 84 last time? What did he throw last time? Pulling 93. It up here on the fly. Okay. So, yeah, before that, previous to that, 74, 72, 31, 33, 75, 71. Okay. So they kind of split the difference. They're not assuming, and that was against Milwaukee. Milwaukee against lefties, we know they're horrendous, and I believe that was Wood's best start of the season. It was. Not that we're afraid of Pittsburgh, and the ballpark's still fine. What's your official Alex Wood take?
So okay, not just like an Alex Wood take, just overall thoughts here. I think that the chalky build today is Keller or Eflin, and then one of Wood or Schuster, maybe Dunning too. With these guys being under 7K, I think they're just going to be popular in general because you have to remember, like, the bats we like today, the three teams that we named bats wise, Atlanta's expensive if you want the top end bats. The Dodgers are expensive if you want the top end bats. Texas is expensive if you want the top end bats. So the stacks are expensive. So I think the chalky build is one of Eflin or Keller, and then one of these cheaper guys. And I think that's the reason that Alex Wood is getting so much love today. Is just, I mean, he's projected for a decent amount of points, and I mean, he's cheap. There's downside, right? I mean, depending on the lineup that Pittsburgh rolls out here, this is a lineup that could go very limited strikeouts and only have maybe 2 or 3 guys with strikeout rates over 20%, some walks, some good contact hitters. So, and they could go very right-handed heavy. So not saying that I don't like Alex Wood. I don't like him at 40% ownership, 35% ownership. I think that I would rather play Dane Dunning in that instance if Wood's going to be chalky. You mentioned Riley Green being out of the lineup. The Detroit lineup is just atrocious. Dane Dunning is not the best pitcher in the world, but he's a guy that can go out and throw 90 plus pitches just as much as Alex Wood. And we've seen him throw 90 pitches in back-to-back starts. Alex Wood, was that a fluke? Are they going to let him keep going that far? If we're looking at lineups, Dunning has a way better matchup lineup wise than Alex Wood. So I think if I had to choose out of the two guys, I would be going with Dunning. And honestly, just kind of staying on that same thought process of cheap pitchers, I would take Dunning over Schuster too. Schuster, is he too early? Is this guy gonna kind of bounce back and be a prospect that everyone's kind of talked about coming into the season? Big prospect for this organization. So good changeup, just not really dominating with the fastball. And I mean, a guy that in minors and being a prospect, everything was talked about how much command this guy has. And we're looking at a 14% walk rate. He just can't throw strikes right now. So Oakland is much better against left-handed pitching than they are against right-handed pitching. So I think if I had to take out of the 3 cheap bats, I would go with Dunning over Wood and Schuster today.
Yeah, Oakland is not as horrendous as you want them to be versus left-handers. We got a couple lineups, by the way. Tampa just came out. Diaz leading off, a Rosarina, Ramirez, Paredes, Margot, Brandon Lau is in that lineup. Wasn't sure if he would be left on left, but he's in there. Betancourt, Walls, and then Siri. Baltimore, we have Frazier leading off. Rushman is catching, day game after a night game. Santander, Mountcastle, Gunnar Henderson. They just signed Aaron Hicks yesterday, and he's in the lineup. Remember Aaron Hicks? O'Hearn, Mateo, and McKenna. So I wonder if Hicks is even in the pool, because I feel like that happened like late last night, or just some. I guess maybe they have him in there. Is Hicks in the pool? Probably not, right? Because he was on the Yankees last we saw him. Yeah, he's not in there. Okay, at least not on DK. I did not check on FanDuel. He's probably not in either. My guess is okay. So some lineups coming out there. We see Kirkwood in chat. What's up, Kirkwood? See everybody else in chat. So kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Drury and Renfro. Those are the guys that are missing in the Angels lineup. I couldn't get to either one for some reason. But yes, thank you for that. Apparently, according to Steven, it's Austin Barnes BBP day. Well, he played yesterday, so I don't know, unless they like DH him, or unless they DH Will Smith. They play both catchers, because you have to assume that Will Smith's going to play today. Didn't play yesterday. Austin Barnes, by the way, Stevie, 12 official at bats versus Patrick Corbin, 4 hits, 2 singles, and 2 homers. So I guess that's BBP.
For what it's worth, really quick, Dean, going back to Jared Schuster, because he's behind the plate today, that could be huge for a guy that's struggling a little with command. Because he's one of the best pitcher umpires in baseball. His zone is very friendly for pitchers, so maybe a slight bump. I think I'd play Schuster over Alex Wood. I mean, maybe I'm just not on Alex Wood today, just in general, but I think maybe a slight bump to Schuster. Again, I think he's talented. Again, the command is the biggest issue for me with Schuster right now.
Bill Cuzzy, the extreme pitcher umpire today, officially, according to our lineup HQ tool. We have one extreme pitcher umpire, that's Cuzzy with Atlanta and Oakland, and one extreme hitters umpire with Bieber and Austin both. We mentioned Bieber, mentioned him in passing. It's kind of a name brand, but where have the strikeouts gone? And I should mention you've said Dunning a couple times. Is that basically just because Detroit's terrible? Dunning has been not great. At least as far as the Ks have not been there. 15.4% Ks leaves some to be desired for sure.
But he doesn't give up any power, Dean. Like, his average hit distance is under 150. His ISO is around like 50 on the season. He generates a lot of poor hits. He just doesn't give up a lot of power. He uses he's such an interesting pitcher when it comes to pitch mix. He uses a sinker cutter combo with a slider. It's just not a pitch combo that you see a lot. And he honestly just generates a lot of soft hits, and he doesn't get blown up. Trust me, I've stacked against Dunning so much over the last 2 years that I get so frustrated, because he's not expected to be a great pitcher. It's just he doesn't give up power because of his pitch mix. And honestly, there's no power in this lineup. So you're really just kind of hoping BABIP goes in your way. You get a few strikeout upside here because he's facing Detroit. That's why I was on Dunning.
43 innings this year. You know how many homers he's given up? 0. Yeah, I mean, again, the ERA for Dunning is 1.67, and good for him. But the Sierra does say the regression monster is coming, 4.53. BABIP is 246. His left on base percentage 80% as well.
It's because of his pitch mix, though. His advanced stats are not going to be all telling because of his pitch mix. He's a cutter sinker guy. That's so many ground balls and soft contact in general. So I don't know. If I could tell you right now, if you could lock in 18 points from Dane Dunning today, would you do it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Give me 18 points. I'll be thrilled to take that. No more, no less is what you're suggesting. But yeah, I don't think he's going to go out and score 30 for what it's worth. I just want to throw that out there. I don't think I'm playing Dane Dunning to get me 16 to 20 points. And I hope that outscores chalky Alex Wood. That's my mindset and thought process. He also he used to pitch out of the bullpen. He was once one of the top prospects in baseball pitching wise, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? He was one of the top pitching prospects in baseball. It's weird that he doesn't have like this, maybe he does, like an overpowering fastball, like to make him be such a highly
not even
sought-after
throwing
prospect.
fastballs anymore, hardly. Like barely
Isn't
throwing
that
any
weird?
fastballs. I mean, no, because it was terrible. It was the pitch that like was just getting absolutely smashed, and like, I don't remember. Listen, I do the best I can when it comes to this kind of stuff, but I don't remember if he developed the sinker or the cutter. I know he used one before, but he's developed like it's just such an interesting thing because I mean, honestly, arm slot wise, they're very similar arm slots, and like getting a little bit more movement downward instead of sideways on a cutter and sinker. Probably why he's just pitching well. Like he's not pitching fantastic. He's not pitching like top end stuff, but he's pitching well. I mean, you look at his WOBA, he's top 10% in the league in WOBA this year. Like it's very interesting what he's doing. A guy that like if you're fascinated by like diving into baseball savant and stuff like that, you would have a field day digging into this guy because he's so interesting on like how he's approaching pitching this year.
Andrew asked what kind of pitcher is in the Tigers game. We just talked about Dunning. I'm not sure which one he was talking about, but we can mention at least the existence of Joey Wentz. We're not playing him though, right? 17.9% strikeouts. That's not good. The walk's a little bit too high at 8.2%. This is a pretty contact-heavy Texas lineup that's got a lot of power as well as far as Texas. I saw somebody ask this question. Where is it at? My apologies. I'm scrolling back up. They're saying like, look,
Aiken will open for the Orioles on Wednesday.
Okay, Aiken opening for both, presumably.
That's what it sounds like. We just got an alert.
Could be Travis is saying, good morning. Good morning. Any pitchers that get the X button if you're building 150 lineups. 150 lineups, you got 14 pitchers to choose from. This is DK specifically. You got to run out 2. I think you X Wentz. Like if I'm running 150, I'm not getting the Wentz. I'm not messing around with that nonsense.
I'm not getting to Wentz. I'm not getting to Caprillion.
Corbin?
Probably X and Corbin. X and Syndergaard. I don't like the spot for Syndergaard. Yeah, I mean that would be like my initial X's for sure.
Both?
I think
probably
vote
next.
Because now like with the opener situation, I hate those situations just in general. So his pitch count is not very like he's not like stretched out anyway. So like you're probably only getting like 70 to 75 pitches from him at max. So 6K is cheap, but yeah, he's another guy I would X. So basically like the 4 cheapest guys on DraftKings, I'd X those guys on this early slate if I'm building 150, and then Syndergaard would be a guy. I can't tell you like how much injuries has hurt Noah Syndergaard. It's rough, man. Like you're excited about Thor being back, but he's just not the same guy he was pre-injury. Like what was like average wise, wasn't he like averaging 96, 97? Now he's averaging like 91, 92. Like injuries it's hurt his career. And it just wasn't one thing for him, right? Like he came back, he got hurt again, came back, got hurt again. Like it's multiple things, and like we've seen it just kind of take a toll on him. Good for him being pitching in the majors still, but just not the same stuff. High risk, like stolen base guy, strikeout rate way low. He's just a guy I'm off of today.
Yeah, I mean the one positive is he's facing Washington. If he sticks around for 5 innings, he's got a chance to get that W. Presumably they'll be ahead versus Corbin. But
like he's facing a high contact team, and he's a contact pitcher that gives up a ton of stolen bases. And I mean, there's a little bit of speed here with Washington. It's tough for me.
It's the BABIP gods, right? If they're on his side, like he can go 6+ theoretically. But yeah, I'm not making an argument in favor of.
No, I mean, I think that it's a good conversation to have on a 7-game slate when we have an hour to talk about a 7-game slate that only needs 20 minutes to talk about. So. I think like realistically it's a good conversation to have. I think the question is fantastic when it comes to who would you X on a 150. If you really wanted to like tighten your pool up a little bit more, I think there's a couple other guys that you could potentially X today. Justin Steele. I like Justin Steele. I think he's a fantastic pitcher. Tough matchup, man. Like you look at this Tampa lineup and it's a tough matchup. So I like Justin Steele. I don't know if I'd fully X him out in 150, but this is one of those spots where if I was going to be really tight on my player pool, I'd get rid of him. Jaime Barria is someone that I wouldn't mind like Xing out today.
I'm
in
not
a
a fan of
150.
Berea.
Yeah. So I mean, you could start narrowing it down more and more. You could also make an argument, I think, for Berea because he's facing the White Sox and they've been atrocious. But I think if I'm playing 150, I would X him out too.
No wonder Franco for Tampa, so that lineup's a little bit easier today. Just worth noting, I suppose. It is just one lefty, I believe, facing Steele.
That lineup's a little bit easier. 300 ISO, 397 WOBA in the lineup that's out there today. It's just, I mean, Tampa has dropped off, as far a little bit. We all knew it was going to happen, but I mean, they still have a 166 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. League average is 100. They have a 166. So they're still by far the best team in baseball against left-handed pitching. Them in Atlanta.
They're 166 versus lefties. That seems outrageous.
It's really high.
Did they not face a lot of lefties? That's like small sample stuff, or it's just like they just absolutely smashed. That's an insane number.
I mean, it's kind of a little bit of both. They've smashed lefties this year, but I think plate appearance wise, they're bottom 5 or their lowest plate appearance is at 404 plate appearances. But yeah, I mean, the number is going to come down. Them and Atlanta have been the best two teams in baseball against left-handed pitching this year. And Texas is third for what it's worth, going back to the conversation about Texas today against Wentz.
Don't tell Derek Carty that. Don't mention that to Carty, the Texas Rangers. He's picked a fight with the Rangers in chat. But if you look at some of these stats,
that lineup is really not bad.
It's just Carty apologized yesterday, by the way. It was amazing. He'll be on later.
Oh.
Yeah, on air. He's like, I goofed about something my bad, and the chat was coming at him, and you know how the chat does that.
Carty got subbed out.
Oh, who's in for Carty?
We got Chief coming on.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I'm on with them later on today, and I think he's working triple duty because he was doing his Take Your Pick'em show earlier at 10:30. So it's Dave Potts, it's Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, and it's Chief Will be on later today. So that's what we're talking a half hour, Stevie. Is that what we're talking about for crunch time? About 12:30 or so.
A half hour? Oh man.
Yeah, man. We got if you got any. Hey, we got to dig in as far as offenses. Give it a refresh as far as weather. Weather should be pretty good. Yellow, green in Chicago, both Chicago destinations, the White Sox and the Cubbies. We're looking at green out there in San Fran. Winds blowing out 50 miles per hour, but Roth notes that the ballpark does minimize wind impact. I will drop this in chat for the people.
All right, Dean, I got one more to throw at you because we didn't really talk about him. Just interested in your thoughts on Lance Lynn. They rolled out a lefty-righty type lineup against Lance Lynn. He's been terrible against lefties this year. But he's still like Lance Lynn, right? He's elite against righties. He's terrible against lefties. Is this a spot that like you'd be looking at if you're playing, say, a 20 entry max, 150 entry max? I don't think he's a single entry max or a single entry guy. I don't even know if he's like a 3 entry max guy, but like large field stuff, because we have more than enough time to talk about bats. What's your thoughts on Lance Lynn?
Yeah, he's definitely in the pool if you're running 150. I think he's in the pool if you're running 20, I think. If for no other reason, like he's got a pretty good K rate. Well, let's say I have data back to last season. Let's pull up this season. 25.7%. That's really solid. The second highest K rate on the slate. There are some Ks in this Angels lineup. Of course, there's plenty of power. The power up top with Trout and Ohtani, and a small sample. Moniak has done it as well. I'm not a believer on that just yet. I know he was a former number 1 pick many years ago for the Phillies, getting a second run here, but 26.7% as far as Ks in this lineup. And the thing with Lynn is if he's cruising, if he's actually like locked in and the BABIP's going his way, because he's been an unlucky guy this year, right? If you look at Sierra versus his ERA on the season, I think it's like close to 8. No, it was. Now it's down to 5.83. His Sierra's below 4, 3.98. So I think he's been a little bit unlucky. It's kind of corrected itself of late, but he's the other guy. He can throw 110, 115 pitches. So, and a lot of these guys just don't even have that ability. We saw last night, and it's not like just to point to, what was the dude for St. Louis? The Lizard King. I can't remember the guy's name. Double M is his initials. Doesn't matter. Michaelis. There you go. He went 8. He struck out 10 somehow, and good for him. But like he's the kind of guy that can stick around for a while. And Cardi called that, though. He didn't say it was going to happen, but he said, just so you know, you can play Michaelis because he's theoretically a guy that can go like 8 or 9 innings. That did go down last night. The 10 Ks, not what was expected, but Lynn does have that ability. So I think he should absolutely be in your pool at 20. What do we have his ownership at? Because I would play Lynn before I'm playing like Alex Wood. I understand there's a little difference as far as pricing. I'm giving a refresh. We do have new ownership, I believe. Right. Wood 33%, Lynn 32. So, and then Keller at 30, Schuster 22, Dunning 22, Eflin 18, Bieber 14. We acknowledge Bieber's existence, but 9.4K seems a little pricey. I know there's no Mullins that Baltimore lineup. He could be fine, but what's the upside on Bieber these days? You could play him. I'm not thrilled about Bieber. Your thoughts as far as Shane?
Yeah, I mean his strikeout rate has just dropped so much, and he's just really not able to get left-handed hitters out right now, giving up a ton of hard contact both sides. And he's just like honestly a guy that is not generating any soft contact overall. So there's a lot of strikeouts in the middle to the bottom half of this lineup. So like I think if you're playing large field stuff and you wanted to take some shots on him, sure. But yeah, I mean, it is his birthday, so you never know what you want to do here with Shane Bieber.
Oh boy.
Yeah, Narrative Street. Look, it's pulled up.
How old is he? 30? I'm going to say 30. That's my guess. What would be your guess as far as his age? I'm setting the over
29.
He turned 28. Okay, so I have more.
I almost said 28. I should have said 28.
Just take the under. You could have said 1. You would have won if it was like the Price is Right rules, but that was not established. I suppose.
I was still closer to you, so it's fine.
But Steven just kind of call back as far as Austin Voth saying he's a high spin rate guy. Are you a spin rate guy? Is that something you dig into? I know you're a pitcher. You like to dig into such things, but is that something that you? I mean, I know some pitchers obsess with it. Some don't care. Is that something you care about?
No.
Okay.
I mean, do I look at it? Sure, I do. He does he's in the 95th percentile as far as like his curveball spin rate. So like I get that. But when you're only throwing like 60 to 70 pitches, it's really tough. And he really, I mean, like his fastball's okay. His curveball's good. It's hittable. That's his problem. Like he's just hittable.
Stevie, this excites me so much. Alan in chat says last night the 20 max winner for 6K on DK had a 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, 1-1 lineup, which is amazing. I love it. That was not
That's
my
really
burner
close to my
on
main
DK.
lineup for this morning slate. I'm not I really wish I was joking, but I think I have like 3 2s and then like 1 offs. It's I like a very interesting morning lineup today.
2-2-2-1-1. I'm okay with that. Like again, I understand the reasons why, and I know what I'm getting myself into. And you're doing that, I think, like in a single entry contest.
I am.
Right?
Yeah. I'm only playing one lineup. I'm playing single entry. I was doing some premium content this morning, and I was like, man, I like this guy in this spot. I like this guy in this spot. It's just one of those weird things. Like, if I'm stacking Atlanta, Dodgers, Texas today. Like I've made that very clear. Like that's the teams I would stack. And those are the types of hitters that are like spread out through my lineup. It's just I like certain spots for certain hitters today. It's just weird, but I was like, you know what? It's a single entry tournament. Who cares? I like playing for min cash. Don't you? Like that's my favorite thing.
I min cashed the 555 last night with a Dodger stack. I had
late night min cashes are the best.
I mean, I'll take it. It's not what I was shooting for per se, but
yeah, right. You were so happy you just min cash. I get it.
I was happy because I was. I mean, at the time I was not. I was on the outside looking in, and I think I'm not sure if Freddie Freeman's homer did it for me, but like I might have been in, but that might have solidified it. But I like the Dodgers. Who else didn't? I really liked the Dodgers last night, but it ended up my 5. I thought I was being a little bit different with my other 3 pieces, but and we had Contreras homer. We talked about the Contreras brothers yesterday. Contreras versus Kikuchi was like, Kikuchi and his fly ball tendencies versus righties. All right, so. Summary as far as pitchers, somebody was asking about let's see. They're asking about if you can rank them from a tournament perspective. Like, give me like 1 through 5 ranked as far as your pitchers tournament wise.
Keller, Eflin, Dunning, Schuster, Lynn. Just because, I mean, Wood would be 5th if he wasn't going to be so chalky.
All right. Stacks, you mentioned it several times. It seems pretty clear the tier of Atlanta, the Dodgers. If you want to put Texas in that tier, you can. They have a team total run of like one run less, right? The White Sox do have a team total close to 5, and they're facing Jaime Abreu, but Abreu's been okay this year. But I think I'm okay picking on him with the White Sox, but they're below. It's Texas, probably third to 1 and 1A. That is Atlanta and the Dodgers. Did you say you like Atlanta? You like Atlanta more than the Dodgers? Is that correct? You have my head.
Yes. Yeah, Atlanta is my favorite stack.
Anything ambitious, anything goofy? You're making one lineup in that stat, but like if you're running 150, if you're running 20, is there a certain lineup that you want to get more of in the field? You mentioned not playing Steele, but like this Rays lineup, they're kind of expensive. There's no Wander Franco. I see people in the chat probably still talking about pitchers. Any love for Syndergaard? It's not. If anything, it's like not love. It's not like. It's like settle for. Right? Maybe you'll settle for Syndergaard. Right? Nobody's loved Syndergaard. Like you can't love Syndergaard. Not today. But like if he makes everything else work and he'll give you 14 points, like whatever. Hero says, what is wrong with Berea today? He was awesome last start. So
he was. I mean, he honestly he's pitched well to start the season. I mean, if you wanted to put him in your player pool, I said it when we were talking about pitchers. I think that he's definitely somebody that can be in your player pool. I mean, I think the White Sox are a team that on paper they have a ton of talent. Statistically, they're terrible. They're 5th worst team in baseball with WRC plus. They strike out a lot. So if you believe in the talent, I mean, projections are way against you today. So if you believe in the talent, I mean, definitely take shots on him. Nothing so wrong with him to answer the question. So I think if you want to take some shots on him in large field tournaments, be my guest. He's not going to project well. Doesn't project for a ton of ownership. So I love when you have spots like that. If you feel very comfortable and confident about it, roll with it. I mean, a lot of ground balls, a lot of strikeouts, very low walk rate. Like this is definitely the type of matchup that you would play him in.
Is the best pitcher today? Is it on the slate? It's Fernando Rodney. Is that like a reference? Are you wearing your hat the way Fernando Rodney wore it? No, I don't think so. I'm not sure why Fernando Rodney is getting referenced, but he's no longer in baseball, to the best of my knowledge, for many, many years. But I always enjoyed his post save celebration of shooting the arrow.
He's been playing what since 2019?
I feel like it's been a while. I just Googled and he is he's 46. So was he playing when he was like 42? 41?
Yeah, I mean he pitched really like he started early 2000s with I think Detroit. So yeah, he was around for a long time. I think 2018 or 2019 was his last season. I know he had like went to spring training in 2020, but I'm pretty sure that he was released in 2020 as well.
I can't remember who did it to him, but like you know how Rodney when he would get a save, he'd shoot the arrow. And also I loved when he had a 3-run lead. He would walk 4 guys and give up 2 runs, and he would still shoot the arrow. It's like, dude, you were a disaster. But I always appreciated that. There was somebody had a walk-off homer against him and shot the arrow against them. It was amazing. Was it like Pujols? I can't remember who it was. It might have been Pujols. But it was pretty spectacular. Yeah.
It was fun to watch.
Referencing, remember Joel Zamaya blew his arm out throwing 103 miles per hour in that Detroit bullpen. But all right, we kind of talked about stacks a little bit. We'll put a stack game in a second, I imagine. Whatever is on your mind, chat, by all means, fire it off. We're here to talk about the slate, but if there's something else specific that we've not really fully dug into, we're happy to do that. Crunch time comes on in about 20 minutes. So we got 20 minutes. We can talk some homers. We can play the stack game.
Really quick, Dean. Like we talked about Atlanta and the Dodgers. I just want to touch on Texas one more time.
Yeah,
we talked about them at the beginning. I love this spot for them. They've been one of the best teams in baseball, like I said, against left-handed pitching this season. Detroit, middle of the road bullpen. they're good front end, bad back end. So if they get out Wentz really early here, maybe they get the bad back end stuff. But Seager, lefty, probably goes a little underowned. He is smashing left-handed pitching this season. Jung and Garcia, Heim, like all these guys are in great spots today. So just wanted to bring up one more time that Texas is a really good, very underrated third stack today. They have the same type of upside as the Dodgers and Braves, going to come in at much lower ownership.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you saw the question, but Andrew's asking in chat, if you're doing a Texas stack, would you leave Semien and Seager out?
I would leave Semien out.
If
I was going to leave one of them, it's or question, right? It's not and. It's one.
No, it just says, it says Semien or Seager. The way I'm seeing it, the way I'm reading it, the way I understand it is like,
would you leave one of them out, right? Let us know, Andrew. Is that what you mean? Would you leave one out? If I was going to leave one of those two guys out, it'd be Semien.
As a one-off, kind of a gross one-off, Fanduel single entry one-off, you have Walsh for the Angels or O'Hearn for Baltimore. Is O'Hearn getting pinch hit for when lefties come in? Yeah, 21% pinch hit risk today, according to the bat. Certainly a pinch hit risk. If a lefty comes in, you prefer Walsh or O'Hearn?
I prefer Moniak out of those three.
He's looking for a cheap first baseman, I believe, if I'm getting that right.
Oh, cheap first baseman. See, Moniak is one of my favorite hitters on the slate today. Wrote him up on Lineup HQ earlier.
Why? Why do you like? Tell me on Moniak because
Lance Lynn is not a guy that can get lefties out, and his biggest issue is strikeouts. Like Moniak has a ton of power. It's 63% fly balls on 52% hard hits. When he makes contact, it's going over the fence or going towards the fence. So he's the type of guy you want as like a one-off, one-off home run power that is still underpriced. I like him a lot today. So out of those two, I'd probably, Walsh has been terrible this season. I think I would take
migraines. He was out for a while. That's the reason why he wasn't playing baseball. Wasn't that his reasoning for being on the IL forever?
Yeah,
it's not been good.
I mean, if he's asking about like a type of stack, I would probably like lean to the LA player with my stack.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. You're looking for a cheap, you're hoping for a homer. Walsh has shown it in the past. He hasn't been there this year.
O'Hearn can hit home runs too. He's a fly ball guy.
Yeah. I think O'Hearn's distinctly more likely to get pinch hit for if that's an issue. And Moniak, for what it's worth, Lynn, he probably sees Lynn. Lynn sticks around, so he should get 3 at-bats. He should at least get 3 at-bats, and we'll see. But 34% chance pinch hit risk for Moniak, for what it's worth. Bubba Thompson, by the way, the number one guy on the slate, most likely to get pinch hit for, Texas outfielder. Josh Smith is starting left on left, so I guess there's a pretty good chance he sticks around. Like, he's another one of those guys that can't get the hook. But if you're a lefty starting left on left, and he's one of those fringe guys, I'm trying to think who for Texas. Grossman is on that bench.
Yeah, Grossman's on the bench.
Yeah, it may jump in there.
They run Jankowski too, like pinch run him from time to time. He's another guy that could potentially come in and take a spot for Thompson or something.
Braves had 2 runs on Monday and 1 run yesterday. Do they produce today? Well, I mean, baseball.
Baseball,
these things happen.
Baseball has one of the highest variances in any sports. I mean, you play the matchups, right? You play one of the best teams in baseball against one of the worst pitchers and bullpens in baseball. This might be historically the worst bullpen in baseball ever, if they continue to pitch as bad as they are.
Mark's asking about a Texas 5-man stack as well. You like Heim, Jonah Heim, as your catcher, paired with Nate Lowe, left on left. He's going to stick around anyway. You like those two for a 5-man if you're building one. Sure. My favorite would be Garcia, and then probably Young, and then probably Semien, and then probably Seager. But salary is an issue too. But you're good with Nate Lowe and Heim as well, I assume, in the Texas stack.
Heim for sure. Lowe, I mean, he's in a great lineup spot. But if you want to make your Texas stack different, I would use Lowe because I don't think people would play him lefty-lefty. You're not expecting Wentz to go too deep, so maybe 2 at-bats against Wentz, and you're maybe hoping for like 3 at-bats against the bullpen if like the stack is kind of doing its thing. So I don't mind Lowe. I would play Lowe over like a Thompson. And if you didn't want to play Simeon, like my core for Texas just in general would be Garcia, Young, and Seager, and I would build around those 3 hitters in my Texas stack.
Still waiting on Atlanta and Oakland, not surprisingly, as far as their lineups. They're playing 3:30 in the East Coast. They don't start until about 4 hours from now. Waiting on Washington, Dodgers, Pittsburgh, San Fran as well. So stay tuned as far as those lineups. You think that changes much? People, they want to see the check mark that this guy's officially in, and they're not.
How many times, Dean, like how many times over the last, I've been doing this way too long. Let's just call it the last 5 years that like we get a slate. The Dodgers are just the best statistical stack on the slate, and they are one like 5th, 6th, 7th owned because we don't have their lineup before lock. I mean, it happens all the time.
Did you say you're not into Thompson? I saw you threw out Thompson. Or was that Thompson on Texas? You said
Thompson on Texas. It's more of like you said, the pinch hit risk, no power. Yeah, I can't. Does he have an extra base hit on the season? I don't think so.
I'm not
Maybe
sure.
1 or 2. He had a stretch there where he had a couple, but under 10 for sure.
I was looking at Tim Anderson, who's like was dealing with injuries, came back. I think he has like 4 extra base hits all season long, which that's bad.
He's really cheap on Fanduel today.
Yeah,
I remember when I was tagging for salary savers today, he was cheap.
Tim Anderson on the season, let's see. He's got 165 official plate appearances. He has 0 home runs. By the way, combined with Benintendi, those guys have like 300 at-bats and no homers. More than 300 at-bats, actually, I would imagine. So he's got 6 doubles, 6 stolen bases. Like he'll steal a bag for you, but no triples and no home runs. It's not good. It's been rough for Anderson. Maybe he gets it today. We did see Jose Abreu finally break out and hit a home run. And
did he really? I missed that.
You missed it, yeah.
Oh man,
you can't make fun of him anymore.
I will continue to make fun of him, but I will continue to make fun of Houston for giving him the contract that they gave him. His ISO is up to .029 now. Good for Abreu. His ISO has finally reached over 25. I think my ISO is higher than Abreu's.
What is it? I'm curious if it's higher than Anderson. Well, I have Anderson just specifically today versus righties. As ISO versus righties this year, the same number, 0.25, 0.025.
I would still take Anderson because he can steal bases.
All right. We do have some questions in chat. Dylan wants to know favorite cheap bats. What do you guys like? I'll tell you, you pull up the lineups page. This is one easy way to do it. There's several ways to do it, but you can use like the scroller and just say, I want to pay no more than, I don't know, 3.5 or 3.3. I don't know what's the cutoff for a cheap bat, and then your players will be highlighted, just the ones that are available. Moniak is actually 3.5 precisely. Vaughn at 3.7 seems kind of cheap. Vaughn at Sheets at 2.7. He's kind of buried, but he's 2.7K.
Fanduel or Draftkings? Your pricing's messing me up.
I'm on DK. I should have specified which one I was on, but Fanduel, you're going to get even cheaper stuff, obviously. Rosario's 2.9, Ozuna's 2.9. Those guys, even Michael Harris is 3.1. All 3 of those Atlanta outfielders are 3.1 or less. Of course, Acuna's the expensive one. Atlanta's got some. Oakland has some cheap pieces. Ruiz, speaking of stolen bases, Rookers 3.3. I like both those guys as kind of salary savers. The entire Oakland team, the projected lineup at least, they're all less than 3.7 on DK. Do you have a favorite salary saver or two? We talked about those Texas guys, but there's threats of pinch hits, obviously.
So for what it's worth, if you're a premium member, I'm on salary savers today. So yes, I have some salary savers that I like. Eloy Jimenez is cheap on DraftKings today. He's under 4K. Don't mind that. We talked about Mickey Moniak. I like him a lot today. Connor Joe is like that sleeper guy that against Alex Wood, if you're not playing Alex Wood. Connor Joe has been fantastic against left-handed pitching. Brent Roker against Schuster. Ruiz against Schuster. Ruiz is a guy that offers some stolen base upside if you're looking for cheap bats. My favorite cheap bat today, though, on DraftKings, as much as I like Moniak, Chris Taylor, Patrick Corbin on the hill. Chris Taylor is under 3,000 today on DraftKings. You can play him at third base or shortstop, which kind of helps you flexibility wise. So I think this is a fantastic spot for Chris Taylor. You mentioned the outfielders for Atlanta. If you want a cheap second baseman, Adam Frazier hitting leadoff against Bieber at 2.6K on DraftKings. So yeah, I mean, again, like I was on Salary Savers today. I'm very prepared when it comes to value, at least today.
You said Taylor on LA, and I like it. I also like Vargas at 3-1 for the Dodgers. I think it's another really solid salary saver. I assume he's going to be in the lineup today versus the lefty. He didn't play yesterday. This is kind of a push-pull. Trace Thompson should very likely start today versus Corbin, but also when Corbin comes out, decent chance he comes out pinch hit-wise. So, like, does he get one early against Corbin? I suppose he can, but just understand there is a very real
I think it depends really quick, though, like just in general on the Dodgers game, pinch hit risk wise. I think it depends more of like how the game's going. If the game is like 9-0, 9-1, these guys probably get at bats. And they give like Hayward the full day off, and Peralta potentially the full day off. Like, so I think like if you're stacking the Dodgers and you want to play these guys, you could, and you're just hoping for a big game from the Dodgers, and then you're not too concerned about pinch hit risk. Where that Cleveland-Baltimore game, we were talking about some pinch hit risk in that game. That game probably stays pretty close. So I think that's where it kind of changes up a little bit.
The Nationals, just going to confirm, yeah, they still do not understand how to win baseball games, don't care or value winning baseball games. So they never even considered, hey, maybe we should have a guy throw baseballs from the left side in our bullpen, an entire right-handed bullpen for the Nationals. So coming behind Corbin will most definitely be a righty. But you make a fair point. Like, you don't know how this stuff's going to go. But if it's a 3-3 game in the sixth inning and Corbin's coming out,
Thompson's getting pinch hit for it.
Thompson's gone. He's just out. Like that's how that goes. Yeah. All right. Just and you can't predict that stuff. You don't know how it's going to happen, and you don't know when the pitcher's going to exactly get the hook. But these are the things you prepare for. 30% I see in the bat chance as far as a pinch hit for Thompson. Not officially in the lineup, by the way. We're expecting him to be in there. More questions in the chat before we yield to crunch time. Let's see. Brian wants to know, what about a 4-man raise stack on Fanduel in tournaments? I'm not going to say no to that. It's not my favorite thing to do, but sure. Like, yeah, we can play the raise. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, Rosarina been fantastic this season against left-handed pitching. Diaz is good against left-handed pitching. I think a guy like Bethancourt, you'd get at very low ownership because people hate playing catchers. He's a big fly ball guy. So I don't mind taking shots on Bethancourt, like a guy that kind of was just lost in the shuffle, and Tampa's kind of done amazing things with. But a Rosarina would be my favorite bat here from Tampa. He's a big fly ball guy, big hard contact. Like, he's the home run that you're chasing. But Diaz like sneakily has a really high average exit velocity this season against left-handed pitching. So he's seeing the ball really well against lefties this year.
Did I miss the memo on the time change for crunch time? I thought we still have 10 more minutes to kill before we yield, but the crunch time guys have
starts
popped
at
up.
1 o'clock. What are you like Dean?
Well, no,
you've been doing this for a long time, Dean. Crunch time comes in.
You've been doing this a long time. In baseball, no game starts at 1 o'clock for baseball.
1:10. Listen,
1:10 and 1 o'clock is a huge difference.
But the crunch time,
when you're trying to stretch.
The crunch time crew knows that you're going to take like 10 minutes to like transition for them to actually start talking and giving out advice, so they come in early.
Please do. You know that. I don't have to stretch. Please do that, Dean.
So what had happened was initially, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but somebody may have said the show today starts at 11, and it turns out it was starting at 11:30 because
you would have been solo if it started at 11. I don't know if you saw my email.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see your email, but I slid into some of these DMs as well. I said, yeah, I think it's supposed to be 11:30, and maybe the crunch time crew.
What is this somebody you're talking about? Quietly lurking behind the scenes, potentially.
I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to
be nice.
It could be Devin or Steve. Now, like, you don't know which one, so he was just trying to be nice.
Definitely Devin for sure. Then.
So shall we stick around? Shall we yield? I don't know what we're doing here. I'm happy to yield. I'm happy to stick around. Stevie's just gonna say holler. I imagine at some point he's gonna get out of here.
Roth, I want to know about your trip real quick. How was it? You looked like you had a freaking blast.
It was so good. Yeah, a lot of fun. Kids were adorable, but like by the end of it, in London, especially, I don't know how that city has no ramps. And you got like a double stroller, and then you got to get the kids on, then you got to get the kids off. You got to carry the stroller upstairs.
Do you do traditional double stroller, like side to side?
No, this is like lengthwise. This is
that's what we did. So okay, well, ours is really different actually. Like it has the front seat, and then it has a back seat where our older child can stand or sit.
That's what we got. We got the step on or sit.
So winner.
It's
we probably have the same
stand
one.
up now. Is it like lower?
So there's a like moving seat. You can stand up on like below the seat, or you can move the seat and sit on it down. It's technology.
Man, you guys have it good, man.
I know it's great, but I agree with you. Like traveling with kids, like it's so much fun for like the first part of the trip, and then it's so exhausting by the time. And then like you need a vacation from the vacation. So
yeah, and my kids were like hilariously jet lagged and sleep deprived. So yesterday I got a call from daycare, and my 1-year-old. They're like, she's having a rough day. She's bit 3 kids. Like, that is a rough day. That's not great. But I think that
what did they learn in London?
Yeah. So, yeah, they finally slept through the night. So I think we're through it now. But it was awesome despite the hiccups.
So the irony of this story is they call you and tell you that your kid is having a rough day, but they're the ones doing the biting. The other kids are actually having a rough day.
Yeah, that's so true. They should have called the other parents. Yeah.
Did the kids binge Twilight in the plane or something? Well, what did you do for like 10 hours or so?
I don't know where that came from, but hopefully it's past us. Haven't gotten a call yet today, and we're halfway through the day, so we'll see.
Fair enough.
Maybe she's the one getting bit today. So
goes around, comes around.
I'll be back later today with Will, myself and Will. I think Dave and Cardi, maybe Cardi. As well as Roth. This, of course, is just the first half of a split slate. 7-gamer or 6-gamer later on tonight. But unless you got anything else, Davey, I'm happy to yield to crunch time. We got to get out of here?
Yeah, I was already like trying to find the X button, so we're good.
That was Stevie. That was Dean. Stevie's looking for the X button. How about y'all hit the like button? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Do all those things. Keep the lights on. The Fanduel sponsored crunch time. It starts now with Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth.
Let's do it. Good stuff, Dino, as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed crunch time. It's the show where we take you up to lock, even a little bit through lock if things are going well. And it's the show where we bring on 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, Mr. Dave Potts, a.k.a.
Apparently, I'm amazing. I had no idea that Will was gonna be here. Just that you know, always brightens the day. Just when it's a surprise, especially like. Yeah, things are fantastic.
Yeah, it's like finding a $20 bill in your pocket, you know?
Right. It's like it exists, right? But you didn't expect to see it today.
It's wonderful. Yeah, we got Chief hanging out with us as well. What up, Chief?
Nothing much. This is how I feel when I get to do a show with Dave, man, the legend himself. So I'm excited. A little early slate. I've been dug in since probably early this morning just because I had to get some content out. So this is fantastic. Happy to come on and chat with all these people and try to help them make some good decisions.
Good. Let's do it. Dean mentioned we do have like almost 40 minutes here until lock. So we got plenty of time to discuss, pontificate, really dig into what we got to say here. We'll start with the weather. We've got 2 games in Chicago. Both of them have at least a chance for a delay. I don't think a delay is very likely in either of them. And I imagine we want a pitcher, at least in the Cubs game. I'm just guessing just based on winds kind of blowing in a little.
Yeah, there's really the pitching certainly for SP2 is spread out all over the place, and both pitchers in the Cubs game are in the mix.
Yeah. I kind of figured that. Let me look at the very latest here. I'm just pulling up the latest high resolution model data. Unfortunately, looking at radar doesn't really help because we need to see what is still to come because it's quiet now. Yeah, just play them. I think your chance of a delay is low enough that you play them no matter what. So yeah, low chance of delay there, and really that's the only weather thing of note. And with that, I think we should kind of dive into this slate. Chiefs, would you mind giving us a little breakdown on it?
Yeah. So the first part of the overview is that the 2 high-end offenses, the 2 chalk offenses, do not have lineups in yet. Dodgers and Braves. We also don't have Nationals, Pirates, Giants. We may get some of them rolling in during the show, but we're just going to kind of tell you based on who we have projected in. But there are some question marks on what should be the 2 chalkiest and certainly the two highest upside offenses. So just keep that in mind.
And you said we might get that news during the show?
I would expect the Braves lineup to come rolling in any minute. We might not get the Dodgers till we're done. That game's not till 4 o'clock Eastern.
All right. Well, if it comes out and you see anything of note, of course, just kind of pause it and we'll walk through it. But in the meantime, you want to dive into this, a little pitcher talk?
Yeah. Does Will want to just yell and scream that Mitch Keller's not good because he used to not be good? I was all prepared to have to convince people that Mitch Keller's way better than everyone else because math, but Mitch Keller is obviously the ace. It's incredibly clear. I have 96% Keller on DraftKings because I wanted to make sure 4% of my lineups lose. On FanDuel, you'll need a couple non-Mitch Keller lineups because of the salary. He's 11-2, and the Braves and the Dodgers are super expensive. It's so wide open at SP2. Alex Wood, Dane Dunning, and Jared Schuster all have good matchups. And they're also all not good at pitching. Now,
could I pause you real quick, if you don't mind? I'm sorry. I think we've got the wrong slate pulled up on our little screen share there because I was looking for Mitch Keller.
Oh, yeah, that's tonight's slate. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get, because
I
was like, I don't even see this guy. How low is he? All right. That makes a lot more sense. I was confused there for a bit, but all right.
I don't think he has him dead last in the
right. Okay. Anywho, let's get back to it.
So really the big mystery, I think, as far as SP2 or a cheaper pitcher on FanDuel is, can Alex Wood just be the kind of okay pitcher that he's been most of his career? Like he's been horrendous this year, but he did finally at least get the pitches last start. The control was still horrendous. I just don't know. Like, he's old. He looks bad. He's only thrown one kind of reasonable start all year, and even that came with 5 walks. So I'm just straight up splitting Wood with Dunning as my cheaper SP2. But I don't like either of them. Like, I would much rather spend up at SP2, even though I don't particularly love the other expensive ones after Keller. Zach Eflin famously had a 0 strikeout gem in his last start. It was one of the strangest starts. It was like 7 innings with 0 strikeouts. The truth is, he is not a 0 strikeout pitcher. Like, he is a far higher strikeout pitcher than Shane Bieber this season. I'm still in on Eflin. Like, if I have salary, I'm playing Keller Eflin. But realistically, that's a pretty tough get. So I think Lance Lynn is the next kind of upside potential with risk pitcher, but everyone has risk when you're looking at these SP2s. So I don't mind taking the risk with Lynn. I'm okay with Justin Steele. But quite simply, in my lineups, it's just a complete mishmash of about 20% of every one of these guys mixed with Keller.
Okay. That's fair enough. Chief, do you have some strong leans? I imagine you feel the same way about Keller.
I felt the same way about Keller since spring training, but and that's just because I did follow spring training this season, and it looked like he turned a corner. And I've been on Keller pretty much every start this season, really against anyone. Yeah. And so, a guy's got a 30% K rate this season, and the walks are down. The xFIP, I think, is around 3.5 or lower. Like he's been good throwing cutter, throwing sinker. The guy's just been incredible. So Keller at the top for me, and I, sorry to not have to come on
and you're even while you're calling him an ace, you're selling him short. The xFIP is 306.
Excuse me. Yeah,
it's even better than it's great.
Yeah. So sorry to not have to argue with you here, Dave, but I've got Keller 100%. So I'm going to eke out your 4%, but he's been that good. He's the top option on the slate. I do like Eflin. I agree with Dave. Like, the 0 strikeout game was a phenomenon. This guy's sitting at a 25% K rate on the season. And I mean, he gets just as good of a matchup today as Keller. Is just the price is so close. I'm clearly going to play Keller. Like, he doesn't have the strikeout stuff, but in this matchup, I think he can be about as close as he could get probably all season. Eflin sitting at 3.41 xFIP and not walking. Like these two pitchers, man, like when you start seeing walk rates like 4 and 3%, like just that's really good control this far in the season. And I know we're not like in October, but I'm saying, a guy like Zach Gallen was a guy that kind of wasn't walking guys and then kind of went through this little patch here recently where he walked 2 or 3. But all in all, like guys at 3 and 4% walk rates, like I'm always going to be in on them when they've got strikeout stuff. So I really like Eflin as well. It's just, once again, if you plug in Keller and Eflin, then you're probably not stacking the Braves or the Dodgers. And, I don't mind stacking slightly chalkier teams when I'm outside of Coors. I will get creative, but I definitely think Lynn is probably the next. And I hate to just kind of regurgitate Cheese, but he is the next upside play, if you will, at 8,600. Like he'll have some strikeouts. We just need him to not get shelled in one of these innings, and we could come out, cooler than the other side of the pillow. Shout out to Stuart Scott. Alex Wood is 6,800. I think I'll play it just because I don't feel good about playing it. I don't want to play Alex Wood, but he may be a necessary evil in some lineups on DraftKings today just because. That's about it, though. Like, I think Dunning would be okay. Detroit hasn't been striking out as much as we think they have recently, at least the past 3 weeks, I want to say. 2 to 3 weeks, they really haven't been as bad. I think I'm going to sprinkle in some Schuster, despite the fact that Oakland hasn't been completely terrible against left-handed pitching. But if I'm going to play Wood, I think I'm going to have to play Schuster because they're pretty much in slightly equal spots. And as you can tell, I don't like the pitching really outside of Eflin, Steele, Lynn, Kelly. Those are the guys, and you just have to figure out how to make it work.
Okay. All right, that works for me. Let's talk about some of the bats, some of the stacks here. And I should know, this show is sponsored by Fanduel. It'd be a good idea to sign up for the Fanduel Sportsbook if you have not already done so. They've got some awesome promos going on, including the fantastic new customers get the no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. So make sure you are signing up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of that awesome bonus offer. Let's talk some stacks. And Chief, I will let you lead this off. And I assume if you're double spending up a pitcher, it's a totally different ball game than if you're going Keller and somebody cheaper. Right.
That's going to be really tough. Now, well, let me talk through that real quick, and then
Sure.
Obviously Cheese can get in here. If I'm pretty much spending up all the way, like let's say I'm going Eflin, Keller in some of those lineups, then what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to be playing like more bottom of the order stacks, or maybe like getting one and doing some weird wraparound stuff. Like that's kind of the vein that I'm going to be in, because like when you look at Atlanta, like Ozuna's 2,900, and so we can get him in and Harris, but getting to Acuna and trying to go double barrel is probably going to be fairly tough. So I'm going to have to get really creative with my stacks and probably leaving out either Acuna or Olsen, and kind of getting to the bottom of the order. And I need to do something similar with the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, in my opinion, probably have a couple more options just on the cheap side. So maybe I do that more with them than the Braves. Stacks outside of those two. Look, I think we can play some Schuster, but I'm not above not playing Oakland today. Like I don't think Jared Schuster is some world-class pitcher. Oakland could run into him quite a bit. So I don't mind playing him. I don't mind playing some Pirates against Alex Wood, just because those are two pitchers we talked about. I don't think they're good enough. If they got through a couple innings unscathed, I'd be watching over my shoulder, because they're probably an inning away from just getting destroyed. And then of course Texas may end up on the outside looking in, but clearly Joey Wentz leaves a lot to be desired across the mound. And so I think Texas is probably, if they're going to come in probably third, I'm probably going to beef up my ownership on them and really attack Joey Wentz.
Okay, very good. Cheese, let me hear your stacks.
So it's a very clear top three: Dodgers, Braves, Rangers. And kind of to the point that Will was making, I'm quite happy with either the Dodgers. The Dodgers or the Braves, just playing the cheap bats in a stack, especially with the Braves. If the lineup comes out like we expect, I can go Rosario, Ozuna, Harris in the outfield to do Keller Eflin, and you still have a Brave stack. So like I'm not just all out on that. Like I don't have to have, like I'll leave Acuna, Olsen, and Riley out of a Brave stack.
You're crazy. You're crazy, Chief.
I am a crazy guy. But yeah, those three teams are just like head and shoulders ahead of the field. But almost everything else is at least somewhat viable. We have like these cheap kind of nonsense teams who are facing kind of nonsense pitchers. That would be like the Tigers, the A's, the Nationals, the Pirates. I think you can stack any of those teams and spend up at pitching. Like guys like Jared Schuster and Syndergaard and Wentz and Alex Wood. Like, I mean, the three of us could go out there and score 7 or 8 runs with the way they can just like walk everybody, and then Syndergaard can't strike anyone out. So I don't mind those cheap stacks.
Can't I steal on him too?
You can. Oh, you would already be on third base.
Right. I'd double swipe. Yeah, I'd be good. I'd steal home on him too.
Good job.
Thanks. Okay. Hey, let's see. DJ says, "Hey, I love the cheap bats in the Dodgers Braves game. I do think Shutter gets blown up today, and I'm calling the A's to win 3 in a row." Okay, just letting us know.
Yeah.
All right. We like those cheap bats as well. Let's go a little position by position, Cheese, if you do not mind, sir. You want to start us off with some catcher talk?
Yep. So every position is going to be a little tough. Like there's hey, you should spend up for this guy because he's great, but you can't necessarily just play all of them. But I do think the edge that Will Smith has over the rest of the position is bigger than you see at other positions. So that's one of my favorite spend ups on the slate is with Will Smith. Certainly fine with Rushman or Murphy. I think I like Jonah Heim a little better in the mid range. And then if you need to go cheap, I would play Matt Thaiss against Lance Lynn, or just something in your stack.
Okay. Chief, anything different?
No.
Okay. First base.
So at first, I mean, there's tons of guys that I can get involved with, but just kind of a guy that sticks out to me is actually Freddie Freeman. And I know people want to play the Dodgers, but I think they might be a little bit more afraid of lefty. And Freddie's got really good numbers against lefties this season. Like the ISO may not be there, but the K rate's low enough. And so I really like those guys a ton. I mean, I really like Freddie a ton. So he's kind of going to be my sneaky first baseman, if you will. And then we kind of talked about, so for instance, let's say you're going double barrel. I'm not saying this guy is exciting. I'm saying I don't think this pitcher is spectacular. And it's not that Josh Bell has been good, but Josh Bell is pretty cheap this season. ISO's low, but he's not striking out a ton. Like if you need extreme salary relief because you feel like these pitchers are going to go out here and just really destroy these guys, I don't hate Josh Bell at 2,400. That's more of a price play rather than anything else. So yeah, but Freddie's one of my top options today.
Okay, Cheese, first base.
Yeah, just because Chief just mentioned Josh Bell, like there's several games and teams that are just kind of very wild cardy on this slate. With like Cleveland's one of those. Other than Jose Ramirez, nothing really jumps out. But like, I mean, it's Keegan Aiken to Austin Voth to who knows. I mean, yeah, you can stack the Guardians like cheap Josh Bell or Josh Naylor. That kind of stuff is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Olsen will be the chalk spend up, but I also agree on the Freddie thing. Definitely play him too. On the DK side, we have a bunch of the cheap White Sox again. So like you go back to the Andrew Vaughn thing or Gavin Sheets on the other side of that game. If Dominic Smith's in the middle of the lineup, I mean, he's basically free, as is Jared Walsh. So there's like kind of this big gap between Olsen, Freeman, and you can put Ohtani on DK in there and then everybody else. So if I'm not spending up, I'm mostly just going all the way down.
All right, second base.
Bad news, Kevin. We lost Mookie Betts' second base eligibility. So we're
got
back
nobody.
to he is there on FanDuel, but he's up at 39, and I don't know. You would play him in a cash game. But like I really miss him on DK where the position dies out. Like FanDuel has more options that are affordable, so you don't need him as much because like Albies is 3,100 on FanDuel, Vargas and a Dodger stack. you don't need the position as much as you needed bets on DK, where Marcus Simeon is $6,000, and that's like he's so far below Will Smith to me in the realm of spend ups that I don't know what I want to do at second, because even Albies is kind of expensive. Like he's my favorite for the salary, and then Miguel Vargas, yeah, but I don't really want to play him as a one-off, and I don't really want to play Adam Frazier. I think the guy I would play as a cheap one-off is Nick Maton against Dane Dunning, 2,200. But man, I don't know. FanDuel is easy. I would just play Albies in most lineups if you can't get up to Betts or Simeon. But DK is tricky.
Okay, Chief, second base, your thoughts?
Yeah, we got to get some controversy going here. No, we actually don't. I'm really on DraftKings. I think it's Albies. Albies is the guy. I think if you can get him, and then it's just random guys. Like, do you want to play Jimenez in the 7 hole just to be different? Okay. Frazier leading off at 2,600. I think he's actually going to get a ton of ownership today. Okay. I agree with Cheese. With Sticky Nicky at 2,200. If honestly, if I can't get to Albies, I'm probably just going to take Nicky at 2,200. Like that feels better to me because I might be able to upgrade one of my other bats because second base is fairly weak unless I'm really going to spend down at pitching.
Okay. In the chat here, Brad says Romy Gonzalez is crushing and cheap. He's 2,200. You want this Sticky Nicky character instead?
I think I do.
Okay. All right. Just checking. This is a FanDuel as I'm looking at the prices, by the way. Okay. Hey, let's kick it over to third base for me, Chief.
Yeah. So this is a weird one. I'm trying to go off the board here. I think I'm going to end up with some Candelario. Like, I've got to get some cheap guys in here because I do. The more I'm looking at this slate, I'm feeling like I may be going double barrel. Like, this is the one guy that's got the ISO numbers. And Syndergaard's not striking guys out anyway. Candelario's sitting at a 229 ISO, 20% K rate. Like, he's the one guy that might have a little pop today. So I think I'm going to get to a fair amount of him. Obviously, I don't hate Gunnar Henderson at 3,600. Against Beeboo's, just his K rate's just falling off of a cliff. So he's a guy that I like. Cabrian Hayes, if he makes the lineup, which I'm hoping he will, I'll probably play some of him against Wood as well. But, and of course you can stack the Braves, you can stack the Rangers, but I'm just trying to kind of give you some off the board stuff.
All right, Cheese.
Pretty big difference between the sites. Because Jose Ramirez is only 35 on FanDuel, and Riley's only 34. So it's really pretty easy to play those guys. And like the punts are, $500 or $600 cheaper and considerably worse. So there's not a lot of incentive to goof around on FanDuel outside of about the top 4 guys. On DK, I agree on the Candelario thing. Chris Taylor, you can use it third or short. He's super cheap. There's some pinch hit risk, but we don't really know how much. I don't like at 2,800. I don't even really that much care if he does get pinch hit for after the, couple hits, 3 RBIs and a run. I certainly love Ramirez, Riley, Muncy, and Josh Young as well on DK, but it's just the price gap is so much bigger. This is a position I'm also okay to punt.
Okay, take me to shortstop. Jeez.
Whew. I think as I look at this position, I'm more likely to play Chris Taylor here. We've got FanDuel again. The pricing allows you to play. I would play Tim Anderson ahead of Chris Taylor, basically as a one-off, or maybe Gunnar Henderson. Seager and Swanson are kind of unnecessary spend-ups. Like they're totally fine, but it's back to that kind of like the Simeon thing at second. Like I would rather get Will Smith and Matt Olson and go cheaper at these positions. So I think Taylor is kind of the standout here.
Okay, Chief, third. Sorry, short.
Yeah, I agree with Taylor. I think so. Here's what I will say. I think if I'm going to play Taylor, kind of really just play these cheap Dodgers, I'll probably play Taylor at third so I can get Rojas in some, like just to kind of play them both. But that's neither here nor there. But I want to put that out there.
It's here and there.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely here and there. Shortstop is fairly weak. If I end up with like an interesting, like kind of mini Baltimore stat, maybe I play some Mateo. Like he's been better to righties versus lefties this season in general. I think he is starting to balance out a little bit more, but that's just kind of off the ball. All in all, I'm going to be sticking with pretty much the cheap guys because I'm not a big believer in these expensive guys today in terms of what they're going to get me for the price. Like I know in baseball, a 2K guy can do what a 5K guy can do, but I value the salary today, so I'm going to pass on a lot of the expensive guys.
All right, take me to the outfield, Chief.
All right, Atlanta outfield is probably going to be tops for me. I'm going to play some guys from Texas outfield. I'm going to play some guys from the Dodgers outfield. Sneakily, man, I really like these outfielders from Oakland. And I do like Schuster today, just like in terms of him being cheap on DK and having to play SP2. But, you know, Rooker and Noda, Laureano, like I'm going to play these guys today. They're going to pretty much open it up, especially when I want to play these guys. Like Rooker's 3,300, Ruiz is 3,200, Brown's 3,200, Laureano's 2,500. And Schuster should give up some runs here. I really like this Oakland outfield, like as a whole, in comparison for the price to Atlanta and the Dodgers. I think they're right there. So I like them a bunch.
Cheese, outfield?
Like most of the other positions, you don't so much need to goof around on FanDuel unless you're trying to get like three. If you're trying to go Acuna, Betts, and Ohtani, then you need to goof around everywhere else. So maybe you get one cheap outfielder, but the mid-range, the 3K range, with probably like the White Sox guys, Akil Badu is interesting as a cheap guy on both sites. He's hitting second against Dunning. I mentioned that, like Chief did, like the cheap Atlanta outfielders can be all paired together as a stack. I think you can play them on their own as well. The White Sox, like Robert and Eloy, are just cheaper enough than the other guys that I'll play them. Brian Reynolds is one of my favorite plays on the slate that I think will probably go kind of overlooked. Like him and Adolis Garcia are kind of the two guys I'm focusing on as one-offs. And that's all that really stands out to mention in particular.
Okay. Cheese, just looking at the chat, there's a lot of people asking about second base, and you said it was a hard one on DK. But can we revisit that really quick? Because I'm seeing names like Rami, Vargas, Simeon.
Yeah.
Can we kind of just run through your thoughts there a second again?
Yeah, it is. Specifically. Yeah, it is a tough position. So Simeon is very obviously the best play, but he's $6,000. And I don't think you prioritize him. Like if you have $6,000, play Simeon. He's the best play. And I think the second best play is very clearly Albies at 45. But so if you need to go cheaper than that, I think Vargas is the chalk. I like him better in stacks than on his own. And then as far as the cheap stuff, I prefer Nick Maton ahead of Romy Gonzalez, but they're more or less the same play. Like Romy's hit a homer 3 days in a row. He's not actually really a power hitter based on his profile and his past. I don't believe it at all. But being that cheap, I mean, sure, he's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thank you. All right. Hey, let's get some home run picks and then let's get some QQs. We've got about 11 minutes until lock. Chief, you run the prop shop. So I want to know if you had any props on some home runs for today.
I like Jung for a home run. He's got, really good numbers today. Clearly, I think Olsen, I think you're considering Olsen, which is, to me, Olsen is probably more of an obvious, an obvious type home run. I'm not going to go over Cheeses because, that one, but I will give you somebody else from that same game. Just in terms of the Dodgers, I think we could possibly see a barrage of home runs from them today. Give me Muncie on the sneak tip. Lefty. And I think he can send it out of the park. It's hit for a lot of power against lefties. K rate's up, but I mean, he's got 288 ISO. So I'm going to go in that direction for the Dodgers.
Nice. All right, Cheese, you want to give me a pick or two?
Not really,
Yeah,
but you know,
you will. But you do anyways, and that's
I
what I love
would
about
do
you.
it and do Adolis Garcia and Brian Reynolds. Expensive and shouldn't be sneaky, but I think Reynolds is definitely sneaky.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. We've got 10 minutes until lock. I'm going to jump into the RG Discord. By the way, if you're watching this and you thought, hey, how expensive was the show to watch again? It's completely free thanks to our sponsor, Fanduel. And all we ask is that you hit the thumbs up, you hit that subscribe button, because we do this show every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, like today. And we're probably going to be back tonight. Cheese, we going to be back tonight?
We certainly are. Yeah.
Yeah, see, we do it multiple times a day sometimes. All right, let's get back to some QQs. What are your thoughts on Beebs? #Cheese birthday narrative.
Yeah, I had no idea it was his birthday till I saw it in the chat. Usually Alan texts me these things morning of.
Where you at, Alan?
Yeah. So he's totally fine in with all these SB2s. Like, it's just the strikeouts are so low, it's crazy. You know, he's down. He's behind Eflin and Lynn on my list of spend ups. I could see playing him ahead of Steele.
Okay. We'll go to the John Tom. It is a DK GPP question, Chief. Do you want Eflin, and I have no idea how to pronounce this, but Eflin Tyus or Schuster Murphy?
Eflin Tice. Okay. I think he's referring to Tice from the Angels. That would be my assumption.
Thaiss. I have no idea. But yeah. All right. Let's see. Get a few more QQs. Jumping into the old YouTube chat here. We talked about seconds. We talked about our love for the random French accent. Yes, indeed. We do appreciate that always. Here we go. Justin says, last spot, Acuna or Ohtani? Thanks, guys. Geez, do you have a strong lean either way?
I mean, no. I mean, they're just so great. I mean, I guess Ohtani if you don't have other Braves going around.
Okay. Tankenstein. That's good. I like that. Tankenstein says, who's your favorite cheap stack, Chief, between Oakland, Washington, and Pittsburgh in a GPP?
Oh, probably Oakland, Washington, Pittsburgh. Give me Oakland.
Okay. Andrew Martinez says, Cheese, would you include Heim in a Seager, Jung, Garcia stack along with Lowe or Smith?
I mean, I definitely want Heim in Texas stacks. And if he's asking Heim or Lowe or Smith, I would say Lowe.
Okay. Very good. I wasn't sure if he was asking that either. Jake says, who's your favorite SP2 below Lance Lynn in a DK? He just says on DK. He didn't specify GPP. Chief, your favorite SP2 below Lance Lynn?
It's
mean to make the guy have to answer that at all, honestly.
Yeah, I don't really want to do that at all. Give me Alex Wood, but I don't like it, like, at all.
Like, whatever name you said is going to get blown up. Like, no.
Yeah, Wood, Dunning, Schuster. Throw them in a mixer. They probably all don't pitch well.
Yeah. All right. Brad says, your favorite punt catcher, Cheese?
Tice.
Okay.
Thaiss.
That guy. Thank you. Let's see. Jumping into the YouTube DK Cash question, Chief. Would it be okay to play Ruiz as a one-off if I'm playing Schuster? Chief?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, I'm going to do a quick little radar check here on Chicago, make sure everything looks pretty good.
So I thought you said cheese. That's why I didn't answer. Cheese.
No.
It is a little bit.
Cheese.
Yeah, a little dicey there.
All right, just getting some storms popping up, and they're not exactly where models had them firing, but which pitchers do we have there? Cheese in
That's
the
Zach Eflin spot. We're talking about. Well, so it's Zach Eflin and Lance Lynn are in the 2 different Chicago games.
Okay.
Is one more likely to be affected than the other?
Not really. It's just no. Like, I'd just say there's a chance of a delay in either of those games. Forecast models were showing storms would pop west and move north, and they kind of popped a little farther south and are moving north. They'll still probably just miss to the west, but it's a little closer based on where these storms pop than what I expected. It's still, at the end of the day, just a chance for a delay. And as a general rule, I don't think you should fade GPP plays for a chance of a delay. Unless I'm pretty sure you're going to see a delay, I think you just ride it out and see what happens.
We just got it. We got a Dodgers lineup, and it looks exactly like we had projected, which reminds me to take a moment out of our day to point out that we have like a team of wizard people who project the day's lineups. Like, it's not all just some automated, hey, here, let's throw in a lineup. Like, we have people like figuring out his lineup, and it's remarkable how many times they get some difficult ones correct. So shout out to the RG lineup wizards again, nailing the Dodgers lineup.
It's incredible. I'm involved somehow. I don't know why, because I guess I do the weather. No. I'm not involved. I am in the Slack channel where they're just constantly discussing, and they're like, well, this player's wife went out to eat and it was a heavy meal. So, like, the amount of analysis that goes into this is absolutely outrageous. I'm always blown away.
Right. There are a lot of people that do a crazy ton of work behind the scenes, and then I just come on and like, play Marcus Simeon.
Right. Well, this is what projections say. Yeah, like people just they assume it's just a machine, but it is not. It is many, many hardworking people to make these projections as good as they are. Worthy kudos for sure. We got about 3-4 minutes here until lock. Let's see if we got any other questions here. DK Cash, best outfielder, Cheese, 3,300 or below. I have Ruiz.
At 33 or below, I would. There's actually a few. I would probably play Marcelo Ozuna there.
Okay. Chief, do we have enough courage to play Caprellian on DK?
Not today.
Okay.
Or any day, but yes.
There could be a day. There's only like 2 games.
you never do know.
Yeah. You get some slates. Beaner says, Wood or Dunning in a FanDuel GPP? I feel like the answer was neither.
Neither.
On FanDuel, the answer really should be no. But if you have to, I would play Alex Wood, because then you can really play every bat you want, and it is within reach for him to get a quality start if everything goes his way.
Geez, you've got basically 100%, and Chief, you do have 100% of the best, the good pitcher.
Yeah, I got Keller in like everything.
But then on FanDuel, it feels like that second good pitcher, was it Lynn?
So Keller you can't really lock Keller in 100% of everything on FanDuel if you want Dodgers and Braves.
Yeah, I'm talking more DK. Sorry. So
Same for me. My 96% Keller is DK. On FanDuel, I think Lance Lynn is a lot more playable and necessary.
All right. That's what I was a little bit confused about. But all right, that makes more sense. Less than 2 minutes until lock. See if we got anything new. Not really. You guys have lunch plans? You got any big plans?
I'm leftovers. I used the big green egg. Made some chicken last night. It's the first time I've done some chicken on there. It's pretty good. So got a little extra of that.
A little chicken breast, chicken thigh, chicken wings. I'm going to need more details.
It was chicken tenders marinated in Italian dressing.
Oh, that's nice. That's a good,
Dave.
Strong play.
Listen, this is so interesting. I actually had chicken legs that I had grilled.
Okay.
And so I had leftovers as well. So I had a little potato salad, some garlic and chive mashed potatoes as well. Had some, and then I usually marinate my chicken in. I've got a lemon pepper marinade that I like, and so I started using that. That's what I ended up doing. We had some pork chops too. We also did on the grill.
Lemon pepper, is it like a dry dry rub?
No, this was wet.
Okay.
So this was wet. I let it soak in overnight to get that flavor in there, and then we do a little bit of seasoning.
I've only done dry rub with lemon pepper, so I might you send me over some of that.
Yeah. Need the samples. Need the cheap samples. I may just make it a trifecta. I've got some chicken thighs that I might grill up, do a little teriyaki, little teriyaki chicken thigh.
I've got a new Hawaiian marinade that I'm going to try, but I'm going to try it first, and if it's really good, then I'll present it to the masses. But
Don't start bragging about it until we know that it is.
Yeah.
Hey, quick question from Kenny: Fanduel, Reynolds or Jung? Cheese, Reynolds or Jung?
I mean, the answer is sort of Jung, but he's also kind of more popular. No, Reynolds. I love Reynolds. Yeah, just do Reynolds.
Yeah. All right. Hey, with that, we hit the lock. We talked some barbecue. We talked some pitchers, some hitters, some stacks, some home run picks. We did everything that we wanted to do. And we're going to be back at it a little bit later today with another crunch time for the evening slate. So for now, we are going to bounce for Cheese, for Chief, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.